Hey guys, it's Deconic here. This video is going to be about league starting with skeletons in particular. Now, if you're league starting with skeletons, there are a couple of points I would recommend, switching from whatever you were using before. If you would just want to use skeletons at the earliest possible time, which would end up being roundabout Act 1 when you just get someone skeleton as a quest reward, then that's fine. As a support gem, you'd probably only have like two. You probably only have like three links. So that is not the best, but you can make it work. But that is not really when I recommend switching. If you want to make that work, I would suggest the three links I would suggest in that case would be your summon skeletons, melee splash, which when I was actually league starting on this character in particular, I didn't use skeletons as early as I could have. And the reason I didn't was when I checked the store in Act 1, I didn't see melee splash. So I kind of figured it was in a later act, which a part of me knew it wasn't, but I wasn't entirely sure and I couldn't find it. Then when I got to, I think it was about Act 3, Act 4, I just searched on the wiki when it is you get it, and I saw it was Act 1. So melee splash, you really don't want to use skeletons until you get melee splash. Very important. Now, once you have your melee splash, the third link can be minion damage. This is recommended. I will. The other good links, you don't really get to Act 3. So that brings us to the first time I'd recommend you switching to skeletons. And that would be in Act 3, roundabout when you complete the quest in, where was it? The Imperial Gardens, the library quest. Because that quest would give you access to a bunch of gems that you could want to use. And the most advisable for me, I think you should have, is physical to lightning support. And the reason we go for this as our fourth link, and as you can see, I'm using a 4 link tabula. I'm not 6 linking it right now. The footage you would see as I'm going through this would be with a 4 link. Now the reason I'm using a 4 link is to emulate league start scenarios. I am trying to avoid using currency. I am trying to avoid crafting. I'm avoiding, so basically everything you see me wearing is not, and I mean it's not ideal. My boots don't have anything special, my belt nothing, because I don't know how much currency I would have. Currency is a lot more valuable, it's a lot more rare. This is not a league start account, so, and realistically, if you have a 4 link chest, which you should be getting around Act 4, Act 5, I think, you would have stats. I'm using a tabby which gives no stats. So the actual strength of what skeletons look like at this point with a 4 link is understated by what I'm wearing. In reality, I would have been looking for different stats that I might have found more of. Maybe my chest would give me more resistances. Maybe my boots would give me movement speed. Maybe I'd have gotten rid of a quicksilver and given my and crafted or vendor crafted movement speed boots or something. Essentially I would do things differently. Is it TLDR, and I would probably be stronger than what you see here. But in any case, why we go for physical to lightning support as the 4th link and why we want it from the Act 3 vendor is what this does is it gives you 16%. Well, at level 7 is 16%, level 1 is like 11%, but you get extra damage, just flat extra damage that is hit as lightning. Then it converts your physical damage to lightning damage, which is good, but it also allows you to benefit from things like elemental weakness, which is a hex. And that would work because we're using occultists. We want them to be hexed. We want profane bloom popping them. So it all works out. But this is a really good rune. It gives you a lot of extra damage. The more you level it up, the more damage it gives you. And minion damage is the best damage support gem you can have. So yeah, I would recommend this. I would also recommend having a minion life at some point when you're leveling up. Like before you get this as your 4th link, maybe you just want to use a minion life. And the reason actually recommend some form of minion life with skeletons early on is, if I remember correctly, when I first started with summon skeletons, they just had 40 something health. That's not gonna take any damage to kill. And we're not gonna have blessed rebirth for a while. So you do want your skeletons to be able to eat some damage. Maybe not a lot, but some damage. I also corrupted my summon skeleton myself to get Val. It took about 4 Val orbs, so I think that's something that's decently feasible. And even if it's you don't want to like corrupt it yourself, you can always just run those Val side areas and get it. Every other time I have played summon skeleton and gotten Val, I got it through there. So it's a very common drop. You'll get it. That's not We don't worry about Phantasmal till way later in the league. You don't need Phantasmal just yet. Regarding uh, uh, aside your skeletons, the next thing that's very important for a smooth league start with skeletons is actually using Skitterbots and Infernal Legion. Having Skitterbots, Infernal Legion, and minion damage gives you a whole lot of passive damage, I should say. Just damage you don't have to actively apply, and that helps more than you would realize. I got this right from, I think it was Act 2 when we unlocked someone's Skitterbot in the shop. And from that point, we have Infernal Legion already from Act 1, minion damage from Act 1. So you just put them on an offhand. They, I, they can be in a shield, they can be in a wand. I use a wand, no reason in particular. I just use a wand. But you could have it on a shield. Eventually, you would want to swap out of the wand and get a shield. But that's like maybe later down the line or even earlier. It really doesn't matter. The reason I went for double wand is just because of increased spell damage. Because level 2, you would have to use um what's the name on frost pulse, freezing pulse. That one. We also use raise specters. We are not using any specters we need. The current plan with raise specters in general for this build is right now we're just raising anything. But once we hit Act 6, we're gonna get all our specters as Carnage Chieftains. And that should increase our DPS by quite a bit because then A, we are running faster with frenzy charges, but B, our minions are attacking faster with frenzy charges. So that should be really good quality of life to just have. And then we have zombies and flame golem applying feeding frenzy and minion life. Feeding frenzies and that support gem you unlock from the library quest in Act 3. So another reason to do that quest. Of course, the quest is optional. You don't have to do it, but like all these support gems are from it, so you might as well just do it. We have elemental weakness with blasphemy. Blasphemy is from that same quest. Flame dash is on its own. No real need for a support. And with this, I have found success and decent damage with my build. It doesn't do bad against bosses. Skeletons actually put in work, and it surprised me how well the skeletons performed, considering the overall opinion of the state of skeletons. Because right now my build has nothing to increase minion damage. It has nothing that really helps skeletons. This is all just base damage you're seeing. You just need your blasphemy supports. Just want this to be leveled up as much as possible because I believe that reduces the reservation. But I could be wrong, but I think it reduces reservation per level. And of course increases the area of effect, which if you guys have been in my stream in the past few days, you would see how I was mind blown on how small the area of effect was for my curses versus like my actual skeleton mage character. Now, on the note of ascendancies, how I would recommend building in the early game, and this surprised me. This surprised me with my testing. I found this path actually feel better than this path, and the reason being, when I went this path, I felt a whole lot tankier just because of the energy shield. I can't explain it too. Like I can't explain why it felt so good, but A, I wasn't running out of mana as much as I expected to, and B, because this gives energy shield, this gives mana, this gives energy shield. It just gave so much resistance is that it just felt good. Now you obviously are gonna get like this late. So by the time you get this, odds are you're not even using spells anymore. But that's fine because this gives spell damage and that's wasted the moment you stop using spells either. So I figured you just start off on the right side. So the first thing you want to get when you're, going through Act One is you want to path this way, and you actually want to get minion life, and then you want to get minion damage, and then you can get Lord of the Dead if you reach the point where you want to swap to skeletons, and you can get this because it's increased damage regardless. So it's up to you when you get this. I personally went with Deep Wisdom, minion life, Lord of the Dead, then minion damage, and carried on in this direction. Once I hit this enduring bond, I came back and got myself a heart and soul. And then I just pathed to the left. I got sacrificed for more life. Like I said, you want your skeletons to have more life, just so they don't die when an enemy blinks at them. Then I pathed all the way over here. I got spiritual command too, and then I pathed up. This is the second point where I'd recommend switching to skeletons. Once you get that attunement, it's a good time to switch to skeletons. Because odds are you don't hit this node until you're in like Act 3. So you would already have those other gems. But even if you don't, this is still a good time. Once you get that attunement, it's a good time to switch to skeletons. And once I got that, I came down here and got minion damage from here. And now I'm going to be pathing down to get a couple things here. I think priority right now was getting mana reservation so I can have Skitterbots up and elemental weakness and still have a decent amount of mana to cast summon skeletons. But then, what I would want to get down here, this should all be in the POB, but I would like to get accuracy. That should help with melee and ranged skeletons. It's not the most important because we're not using ranged as much, so it's not the most important, but it's still probably something you want to get. Plus, it's more damage. Then we'd want to get tireless. We don't get glancing blows until we have a decent shield that actually has a like we have decent block attack damage essentially. That's when we get glancing blows. Till then, you're free to not have that. I believe we would also get this pretty early on. At whatever point you get what do you call it? Your skeleton mage gem. How am I forgetting the name? Anyways, the gem you put for that you need for skeleton mages. Once you have Dead Reckoning, that's the name. Once you get Dead Reckoning, you just put 2 points in here, and that's all she wrote, really. That's about it. You just follow the point system in the POB. That should also be fine. In terms of gear, what you want to look for is just minion damage. Your resistances, your move speed on your boots, block chance on shield, potentially. Like league start is not the time where you're fine tuning everything. It's just when you want to get the build to a working state. So the most important stat I would say is minion damage. And if I remember correctly, we can get minion damage on convoking ones. You can get minion damage. Well, you can get maximum number of skeletons and zombies, but I think that's a craft that you would unlock much later. So no need to worry about that. Um, you want the attributes, good attributes on your equipment. So you want dexterity and you want strength because you won't get too much from the tree at this point. Like the only dexterities nodes you would get are like this is strength. Is there any dexterity? This we don't get this dexterity. Like here, wouldn't get much dexterity, so I think you would want a jade amulet regardless. And yeah, I think that about covers everything I think is relevant in the league start scenario. This is what I'm going to be playing in League 3.21's league starts. So let me know if you guys plan on playing this build in League Start. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to test it out yourself before the league actually starts, be my guest. I will answer any questions you guys may have. But in any case, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.